Okay, let's talk about the Azure AI 900 exam. If you're studying for it, you know it can feel like a lot. But stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to have a super simple, really powerful way to frame all this information, not just to memorize it, but to actually get it. We're going to get you ready for this exam.
So if you've even peeked at the study materials, you know there's a mountain of stuff, right? You've got different Azure services, all these complex concepts, and then a whole set of ethical rules. It can feel like you're juggling way too many things at once. But what if I told you there's a way to organize all of it? A way that just clicks.
Well, this is it. This is the framework. I'm telling you, everything you need to know for the AI 900, it really just boils down to these three things. First, we've got the concepts. What is AI, really? Second, the tools. How does Azure actually do AI? And third, the rules. What are the guidelines for using this stuff responsibly? That's the whole game. Concepts, tools, and rules. Let's jump into that first pillar.
All right, pillar number 1, the concepts. Think of these as the fundamental machine learning ideas that everything else is built on. If you can get these down cold, you are already way ahead of the curve.
So here's the most basic split in all of machine learning, and it really comes down to one question about your data. Does it already have the answers? If you have data that's been labeled with the correct outcomes, that's supervised learning. But if you just have a giant pile of raw data and you want the AI to find its own patterns, that's unsupervised learning. Honestly, this one distinction drives almost everything that follows.
Let's start with a supervised technique. And here is a huge tip for the exam. Seriously, if a question asks you to predict a number, doesn't matter if it's the price of a house, tomorrow's temperature, or next quarter's sales, the answer is always regression. Just lock it in your brain. Predicting a numeric value equals regression.
Okay, but what if you're not trying to predict a number? What if you're trying to put something into a bucket, into a category? Like, is this email spam or not spam? Or a common exam scenario. Is this brain scan showing hemorrhage type A, type B, or type C? Well, in that case, you are dealing with classification. You're predicting a specific label, a class.
And then there's the third big one. What if you have 0 labels? You've just got a ton of data, no right answers to learn from. This is where clustering comes in. And it's an unsupervised technique. The whole point here is to just let the algorithm find natural groupings all by itself. A classic example of this is customer segmentation. Just grouping your customers based on how they shop. The AI makes the clusters for you.
Great. We've totally nailed the concepts. So let's move on to our second pillar, the tools. This is all about connecting a specific problem to the right Azure service. And to make this real, I'm going to frame these just like the exam does, as quick-fire questions.
So imagine this. You're handed a scanned invoice. It's not just a wall of text, right? It's got structure. It has tables. It has fields like invoice number and total due. You need to pull that specific structured data out. What's the tool for that job?
That right tool is Form Recognizer. The magic word here is structure. See, other services can read plain text, sure, but Form Recognizer is specifically built to understand the layout, the tables, the forms, the receipts. So when you're on the exam and you see words like key value pairs or extracting from a table, boom, it's Form Recognizer.
Okay, next up, you've got a bunch of text, say from customer reviews or tweets, and you need to figure out the emotion behind it. Is the customer happy? Are they angry? Is it positive, negative, maybe just neutral? Which Azure service is built to analyze language for that kind of sentiment? That would be the Text Analytics service. This thing is your absolute powerhouse for what we call natural language processing. It does sentiment analysis, it pulls out key phrases, all that good stuff. But what's really important is that it doesn't just give you a thumbs up or thumbs down answer. Instead, it gives you a confidence score, which is a number between 0 and 1. So a result might look like this, 0.95. What that's telling you is the model is 95% sure that its analysis is correct. And that score is absolutely critical because it tells you how much you should trust the AI's answer.
So what happens when the ready-made services aren't quite right? You need to build a totally custom model from the ground up. You know you're going to use the Azure Machine Learning Studio to do it, but how do you actually build the model once you're in there? What are your options?
Azure gives you 3 main ways to do this, and they're designed for different skill levels. First, you've got automated ML, or AutoML. This is a total no-code solution. You just give it your data, and it goes and finds the best model for you automatically. It's amazing. Second, there's the Designer, which is this cool visual drag-and-drop canvas. You connect little blocks together to build your workflow. And third, for all the developers out there, you have Notebooks, which is a full code-first environment where you can use Python to build whatever you want.
Okay, we've tackled the concepts, we've covered the tools. Now it is time for our final and, you could argue, most important pillar, the rules. This is all about Microsoft's principles for responsible AI. And let me be clear, you are absolutely guaranteed to see questions about this on the exam.
So for the exam, your job is to match a scenario to one of these 6 principles. It's all about the keywords. If the question talks about avoiding bias against people, that's fairness. If it's about making sure the AI works for people with disabilities, you're thinking inclusiveness. If it mentions protecting user data, that's privacy and security. Let's try one out.
Okay, let's put that to the test. Let's say an AI model is being used to approve or deny bank loans. The bank has to be able to explain why the model said yes or no for any given person. Which one of our principles does that fall under?
That is transparency, 100%. This principle is all about making AI systems understandable. The exam keywords you're looking for are explainable, understandable, or maybe documentation. We have to be able to crack open that AI black box and actually see how it reached its decision.
Okay, we've done it. We have our 3 pillars: concepts, tools, and rules. Now for the final step, let's see how they all snap together by walking through one complete end-to-end AI solution.
So here's our challenge. We need to build a system to predict house prices. Simple enough. But, and this is the important part, we have to make sure it does it fairly and doesn't end up discriminating based on something like, say, the zip code's demographics. So how would we tackle this with our framework?
And just like that, our framework makes it easy. Number 1, the concept. We're predicting a price. That's a number, so we know we need a regression model. Number 2, the tool. This is a custom build, so we're going to use the Azure Machine Learning Studio. And number 3, the rule. The keyword in the question was fairly, so we have to apply the principle of fairness, which means we have to go in and actively check our data and our model for any hidden biases. See? It all just connects together.
And there you go. Concepts, tools, and rules. This is more than just a trick to pass the exam. It's a way to think like a real AI professional. A way to build solutions that are not only powerful, but also responsible. You have the framework now. You have the knowledge. So the only question left is, which problem are you going to solve first?